Mugen is a freeware 2D fighting game developed by Michigan-based studio Elkbyte in response to the lack of good commercial fighting games on PC at the time. Releasing in the late 90s, the game received steady updates with a final and stable release dropping much later in the 2010s, where Street Fighter begs its player to master the parry, or Tekken the Korean backdash. Mugen begs its players to let go of all preconceptions and master their imagination. You see, Mugen? Mugen doesn't actually stand for anything. The name derives from the Japanese translation of dream, or fantasy, or most appropriately, infinite, because that's just how many characters are in Mugen's roster. You thought Smash Bros. Had too many characters to pick from? Nah, I don't even have enough pixels on my screen to find my Mugen main. Oh, there he is. Mugen opens its doors to its creators and invites them to create their own characters, stages, and even minigames. If you can imagine it, you can Mugen it. Just quickly counting through the online archives, there are effectively 104,000 characters ready for you to download and play with. And naturally, with such a focus on user-created content, of course it's going to eventually devolve into a pissing match. Enter the cheapy war. The term cheapy refers to a character that far surpasses the cheapness of what you'd regularly refer to as a cheap character. I'm talking no hurt boxes, controlled by AI, can't even be killed by the debug options kind of cheap. You complained about Iron Man's infinite combo? We are not the same. Poetically, the catalyst of the so-called cheapy war can be traced back to one tragic event: the creation of the contextually literal atomic bomb. The A-bomb, developed by Iron Commando, does pretty much what it says in the box. Upon starting a match, inputting any attack, movement, or command triggers an explosion, resulting in an instant victory for the A-bomb player. Of course, the only way to prevent the spread of an A-bomb is to create something greater than the A-bomb, the anti-A-bomb. And the only way to counter an anti-A-bomb is a... You get the point. Hysteria and inertia took over the Mugenverse, as creators constantly fumbled over themselves to one-up their peers. Oh, your character has a one-shot attack? Well, my character overwrites your character's files. Your character can modify the game engine's behavior? Well, my character's a pipe bomb. The number of techniques, exploits, and methods used to create these cheapies became so varied that a Richter scale had to be developed to help categorize just how dangerous a new character was. There's a lesson to be learned here. Constant escalation can only lead to cataclysm. But what did cataclysm look like in the Mugenverse? You see, the A-bomb we just talked about starts here, all the way at the bottom. Characters that would install their own executables are here, in the middle. Characters that would rewrite your system's files still don't even top the chart. The character we're talking about today lands squarely and infamously in the top tier. Dragon tier. Mathrus is a name widely known but only ever whispered in the Mugen community. Its origins lost to time, but its impact still ever present. It is said to be the cheapy to end all cheapies. Its destructive power not only impacting the landscape of the Mugenverse, but could transcend into our own realm, able to completely take over our systems and data. You take each and every aspect of the cheapy scale, the malware, the memory overflow, the exe, DLL, INI injections, and condense it down into one inconspicuous package, and you've landed upon Mathrus. Lending to the horror that lies within the depths of Mugen's darkest corners, some recount Mathrus as the only dragon tier, while others recount it as the only known dragon tier. In an iceberg depicting the obscure history of Mugen, Mathrus shows up 3 times, even having a whole tier to itself. So intense was the reaction to Mathrus that it has often been credited with single-handedly ending the cheapy wars, causing tighter vetting and restrictions on what characters could be shared within the Mugen boards. In order to even get your hands on any of these higher-tiered cheapies, you supposedly had to contact the original creator and trade a cheapy of your own. All very underground. Today, it's hard to come across anything concrete on Mathrus. There's a sparse collection of screenshots and videos that get passed around, but nothing that paints a picture of what a threat Mathrus was at its prime. But I want to show you that today. I want to show you the original Mathrus. Okay, here's where we run into the unfortunate truth about Mathrus and stories similar. They're just not true. What you just witnessed was a fabrication of how Mathrus works. What we once called folklore, mythos, wives' tales, we now call creepypasta. Now, don't get me wrong. The cheapy war, the odd characters floating around the Mugen archives, and much of the tier list, they're all true. Maybe not quite as fantastical as recounted, but true where it counts. But a malware-infested character capable of destroying computers and having next to no evidence of its existence in a game where its whole draw is about sharing and community, it just doesn't seem likely. And why would some people even hide a computer antivirus in a free-to-play fighting game of all things? It's funny. This, though, it's not a satisfying answer. Let's dig deeper. This picture is often credited as the only proof of Mathrus' existence. Unfortunately, reverse searches of this image lead to absolutely nothing of use. Just a bunch of reposts of the same image with little to no context. Blindly searching for Mathrus and its creator also resulted in a dead end. Getting a little desperate, I searched for Mathrus in the depths of Mugen's archive, an archive I thought would be too big and too vast to shift through, and it resulted in a surprisingly small number of results. Mathrus, this once feared plague within Mugen, only shows up 29 times in total, in perhaps the longest surviving site revolving around Mugen. I read through each and every one of these posts carefully, and this one stood out. The post describes how destructive and terrifying Mathrus was, and ends with a link to a DeviantArt account supposedly showcasing the character in action. The link? It's dead. Uto Fanboy's DeviantArt account? Shut down. Thankfully, the Internet Archive exists, and although the number of captures are sparse, I'm still able to view remnants of Utoho Fanboy's account. But who is Utoho Fanboy? Search Google, nothing. Search 4chan, nothing. Search LinkedIn, nothing. Search Twitter, now we're onto something. Utoho Fanboy also goes by another pseudonym, Said Some. Said Some? Cedric from Canada. On top of these two names, I was also able to find a multitude of other accounts and profiles that all, in one way or another, link back to the elusive creator of Mathrus. Obviously, this gave me a massive rabbit hole to go down, and in the disinterest of accidentally doxing a real person, I'm going to try to keep most of this light. Being this many years out and reading through what's left, it's hard to get a proper read on what people actually thought of Said. There are posts despising Said, seemingly blaming him for the mythos behind the dragon tears, while others seem to praise Said, his unique works garnering a lot of support and discussion online. And this is to no real surprise. At his peak, Said was pumping out content to an insane degree, posting regular updates on his now defunct 4shared page. Reading through some more archives paints a better picture of what his works were like, showing that god tier and hyper versions of characters were his specialty. But what about Mathrus itself? This site does not mention Mathrus whatsoever. Said's YouTube channel supposedly showcases Mathrus, but this looks nothing like the screenshot, and its effects are incredibly tame in comparison. But what exactly were Mathrus' effects? In this comment, Seth states that it's capable of penetrating servers and cutting connections. In a TV tropes page, it states that Mathrus is actually created by someone called Urak, a member of a Russian hacking group alongside Sed, and that the character was able to shut down a power grid, leading to a 24-hour blackout in the town that Mathrus was played in. Citation needed. Some eagle-eyed viewers might recognize the model for Mathrus as the Fell Hunter from Warcraft 3. Fucking nerds. Who I have to thank for this discovery is DeviantArt user Mr. Carter M, who first documented the similarities between Mathrus and this model from a custom WoW map. I spent hours trying to find this exact custom map, trying to match this minimap to anything I could find online, hoping that this would somehow bring me closer to uncovering more about Mathrus' creator, before realizing it probably doesn't matter. Mathrus' creator likely did not make this custom map, and 1,000 Fell Hunters that are tinted red probably exist in 100 different custom campaigns. But what about the name Mathrus? This is something I have been able to narrow down. In his post, Sed refers to Mathrus as a man-dragon. Is this some weird amalgamation that I haven't yet been able to solve? Or maybe the name stemmed from the Russian heavy metal band that popped up a few years before. Or perhaps it comes from the Welsh translation of crushing, which feels appropriate. There are a lot of fan-made interpretations of Mathrus floating around on the internet, perhaps my favorite of which is this incredibly slow and eerie version made by Neon Genesis. Download the file link below, it's a rickroll. There are a few joke versions remaining on the Mugen archives. My review? They're very loud! Mathrus' brother, a really cool and terrifying interpretation made by Noxy, cobbles together a massive malware to create something incredibly close to how Mathrus works within its fiction. All in all, I think it's incredibly safe to say that Mathrus never existed at all. It was nothing more than a hoax that quickly got out of hand and went on to inspire many more unique and creative projects within the Mugen community. Whether Setsum was the sole creator of these rumors, or whether Dragon Tier cheapies even existed, I can't say for sure. A lot of that has been lost to time now, and is only really known by the people in the scene at the time. What I can say is that rumors like these are cyclical. Way back in 1999, elf bowling became a viral hit, due in part to emailing and file sharing becoming mainstream in the American household. It was so popular it even got made into a feature-length film. Not too long after its viral success though, rumors began to spread like wildfire, warning players to delete the game as some copies were shared with malicious malware in tow. This of course was completely unfounded, and the game was, and still is, safe to play. Hooray! Or looking at today, games like Friday Night Funkin' has built up a reputation based on its community-made and led content, extremely similar to Mugen's back in the day. It too has had its fair share of horror stories and virus scares, but I don't know if this one has its intended effect. I'm feeling something, and it ain't scared. Why I think cases like these are so reoccurring can be explained by two simple fears. The first is the fear of the unknown. Discussion about this is usually reserved for something more cosmic or Lovecraftian, but I think it works better when you bring it back to a ground level. Everyone has this complex piece of technology in their household, and truth be told, most of us just don't know how they work. On it, we store important documents, photos of loved ones, credit card information, etc., etc. And the thought of all that being at the whim of some invading force and not being able to fight back due to our lack of knowledge is terrifying. Here's where my VPN promotion would go, if I had one. The second is just a simple mistrust of people. It's natural to have our suspicions. In a community built around file sharing, why wouldn't there be a person acting in bad faith? With 104,000 characters in Mugen, it's possible that Mathrus is hiding somewhere, still waiting to be found. Okay, small update. I'm actually just wrapping up this video. I'm on the last day of editing, and I actually ended up finding a personal page that belongs to Setsum. Again, I really want to tread this lightly, but a lot of what I could find on this personal page checks out like one-to-one with someone who would have been involved with the Mugen community. So I'm very confident this is the Setsum. I went back and forth on whether or not I should reach out to him, and I'm ultimately deciding not to. It feels kind of scummy and rude to do so. Two things. One, if this video does pick up at all, please don't go stalking any of the people I mentioned in the video. It's a little hypercritical, I know, but please. And two, if this video does actually reach Sed, I would love to ask you some questions. So if you do feel open to that, my Discord is down below. And also, if you don't feel comfortable with this video, I'm totally fine with retconning or just deleting it. Yeah, I don't want to step on anyone's toes or be that guy to anybody. So yeah, let me know. And I guess now that I'm making this update, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Just use that at the end of the video.